Hi there, Suen. Let's take a look at your newest set of essays. It's about pollution. Let's see what you said. Nowadays, pollution issues has been getting more and more severe, especially in the metropolitan areas. In my opinion, population density and resources waste could be two main contributing factors, and some solutions should be made as below. Okay. Um, this is okay. There's some problems with the grammar in this brief paragraph. First of all, pollution issues have been getting more and more severe, comma, especially in the metropolitan areas. And I would have gotten rid of the, especially in metropolitan areas. In my opinion, population density and this I didn't understand. What do you mean by resources waste? I didn't get that. Could be uh, two main contributing factors, and some solutions should be made as below. All right, I thought that last part was awkward. Some solutions should be made as below. It's not really telling us much. I'm not suggesting that you need to tell us what the solutions are, but I did think that something else would have been better here. Just better worded, in other words, you know what I mean? So this could be two main contributing factors, yet some solutions are available. All right, so maybe that would have been nice. As I have mentioned, one reason for big cities facing worse environmental conditions, or maybe worsening, because then it's like, well, worse than what? So one reason for big cities facing worsening environmental conditions is population growth. No, due to the medical development. No, this should be due to medical developments. There's not just one medical development. So, due to medical developments, modern citizens now tend to, you don't own a lifespan, you have a lifespan. So, now tend to have longer lifespans while the average death rate is much lower than before. The outcome is that some large cities have to tolerate tens of millions of people or more. Thus, the consumption of resources like gas, oil, and electricity every day is uncountable. That's the wrong word here. Okay. Yeah, it's an awkward word here. On the other hand, along with the consumption are the numerous emissions. No, you don't mean the numerous. That's not something countable. So, along with the consumption is the emission of carbon dioxide, which can cause global warming. And finally, those cities have to face the unprecedented rise of temperatures. Okay, I thought that this last part where you started on the other hand, I thought you could have done a better job of developing this. Okay, I don't really agree with the use of on the other hand. You could have just used like a furthermore because you were essentially giving me another reason for this. So a furthermore would have been fine. Additionally would have been fine. So let's try that. Additionally, along with consumption is the rising emissions of carbon dioxide, which occur as a result of a higher population, and of course more cars, more more vehicles. Okay, so just you have to take it a step further. You have to show us what you're talking about here. How is carbon dioxide fitting into all of this? Do you understand what I mean? So you have to explain it. And this carbon dioxide results in global warming. Therefore, those cities have to face not have to, but those cities face unprecedented temperature rises. Okay, so those are just some suggestions on how you could have done this. Okay, let's move on. All right, now let me see if I understand this. Where is your conclusion? All right, this is interesting. I think you put the solutions in your conclusion. Let's see. The other reason is that you don't need a comma here. Many people in modern society enjoy a luxurious lifestyle, consuming things unnecessarily. For example, comma goes right after the word. Some celebrities would rather take the private airplanes for short travel than take 30-minute drives, get rid of the S here, regardless of how much energy they will waste. This should be in the same sentence, okay? You can't use not to mention like this. If you wanted to create a new sentence and you needed to use a different linker, you could have said instead something like, additionally, again, I'm going back to additionally, furthermore, the fashion industry is also responsible for harmful disposal waste. I think I know what you're saying here. You're saying that it's something that wastes a lot of resources, but that's not a really developed paragraph, okay? You really just really briefly touched on this thing about fashion. You didn't go into any detail about it. If you're going to talk so little about it, you might as well not talk about it at all because it feels really undeveloped. I don't love the way you've done your paragraphs here. You had a nice paragraph here, and I thought you were done with the whole idea of why this is happening, the reasons behind it. Then you had this little itty bitty paragraph, and I didn't really understand that. I'm a little concerned. I haven't read your conclusion yet, but I have a suspicion that your solutions are in your conclusion. That's not something I want you to do. Basically, you want to have a body paragraph with your reasons and explaining why these causes are causes, how they're causes. And then you want another paragraph outlining the solutions and how and why they are solutions. Okay? Let's see what you did in that last paragraph. To, to reduce the to reduce pollution, draconian measures must be taken by the government. One solution is encouraging citizens to immigrate to reduce the population density. Regions with lower populations S could release some welfare policies to attract more immigrants. As to the greenhouse gas emissions S, the automobile industry should be regulated. Meanwhile, policymakers could raise, not rise, raise the gas tax and charge less to those who buy electric cars. And last but not least, the change needs every individual's effort. Related documentary. I don't understand. Okay. Related documentaries S and speeches plural would help build the public's sense of responsibility. Okay. Yeah, you did what I was afraid of, but you did something more. This isn't a conclusion, okay? Basically, what it feels like is that you have an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and no conclusion. Okay, that's essentially what this feels like. There's no conclusion to this essay, and so you need to know that when that happens, you will not get higher than a 5 for coherence and cohesion. Okay, because it's an incomplete essay. And it doesn't have it doesn't have all the structural elements that an essay needs to have. An essay needs to have an introduction, body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Okay, so without it, you would get a 5 in just in coherence and cohesion. Now, let me be clear. The other problem with this paragraph is that it was a list. It wasn't a paragraph. So you had a lot of ideas, but you never explained to me. You never developed them. You never explained to me how or why your reasons are you're rather you never explained to me how or why your solutions are solutions. Okay? You need to tell me how they solve the problems and why they solve the problems. So it's underdeveloped, and that's going to affect your task achievement score. Okay? So far, we have some issues with coherence and cohesion because you're missing a conclusion. We have a problem with task achievement because you didn't develop your paragraph, your solutions. Okay, and then of course there were grammar problems throughout the essay that you saw me correct fairly consistently. Okay, so those are the things I want you to work on. Let's take a look at the car sales stacked bar chart. All right, let's go to your bar chart now. The bar chart illustrates the Ford, Audi, and BMW car consumption of 8 European countries in 2018, respectively. It is noticeable that Hungary bought the most cars and almost the same amount for each brand. Its figure was fourfold of Belgium's. All right, so let's take a look at this. First of all, I don't like the word consumption here. The cars weren't consumed, they were purchased. So you could have said bought, you could have said purchased, but not consumed, okay? It's not food or something. So that's the first thing. Then, you didn't need the word respectively because you're not giving me a list of things and their respective amounts. So the word respectively was irrelevant here. As for your overview, you said Hungary bought the most cars and almost the same amount of each brand. Okay. I didn't really care for this. You're starting to get into detail here. Maybe you could have told me something else not so specific to Hungary. I think it was right to say that Hungary bought the most of those three brands, but I think you could have said something else like maybe BMWs were the most widely purchased. Okay, this would have been a good thing to mention in your overview. Let's keep going. Among the three brands, BMW sold the most in general. In France, Germany, and Hungary, it sold approximately 120,000 vehicles, and a little less, not lesser, a little less in Ireland. The numbers in other countries were slightly lower, but still nearly 100,000, except for Belgium, which, not who, Belgium is not a person, bought only about 5,000 BMW products in, not at, in the same year. For Audi, the average car sale in every region was only around 50,000. In countries like UK, Belgium, and Italy, the figure was even lower than 20,000. On the contrary, we don't use on the contrary like this. You want in contrast here. In contrast, the other two brands sold nearly more than 5 times as much as Audi did in these countries. The average car sale in most countries was similar to BMW for Ford. Only in Germany and Italy did it face extremely low data where BMW occupied 50 or more percent, not percentage. All right, this is okay. You really focus a lot on the individual car companies, but you didn't focus on the total. This is a stacked bar chart. So what does that mean? It means that what we're concerned about here is the total number of cars sold. Okay, so we're concerned about this 400,000 in Hungary. We're concerned about this figure in Belgium, just under 100,000. But then, as a secondary concern, we're concerned about what car sales from which company made up those figures. So yes, we are concerned about this 150,000 of each brand in Hungary. We are concerned that Belgium's car sales were almost exclusively Ford. Okay, but the first thing we're concerned about again is the fact that is those total numbers, and you didn't really cover those at all. So what I would suggest here is doing this a little differently. I felt like you got too lost in details. So you spent too much time telling me about the figures for BMW. You didn't need to. So what I would have done here is I would have had an introduction, I would have had an overview, and we've talked about that already. Then I would have had a paragraph talking about these total scores. And it's really very easy. Well, it's not really very easy. I shouldn't say that. What it is it's about editing. It's about grouping. And once you get the idea behind grouping your figures, you're going to find that writing a lot of these becomes a lot easier. So what do I mean? I mean, you look at the outliers. The outliers are Hungary number 1, France number 2. What are the lows? Belgium number 1, Italy number 2. So you talk about those 4, and then, oops, what did I just do? It's me silly. Wait. There we go. So you talk about those 4 briefly, and then you just kind of smush the rest of them together because they're all within a range. What's that range? The range is between 100,000 and 300,000. Okay, so more specifically, that paragraph would sound like this. Hungary had the highest car sales of all 8 countries with nearly 400,000 cars sold. It was followed by approximately 80,000 less by France. Wait, it was followed by approximately 80,000 less in France. We could do it like that. Okay. The least cars sold were found in Belgium at under 100,000. And the second fewest cars were sold. Did I say the least cars? The fewest cars sold were in Belgium, and the second fewest were sold in Italy at approximately 120,000. The remaining countries all sold between 200 and 310,000 cars. And that's it. Okay. And that's pretty much how you want to do this. When you get to the individual companies, I told you I thought you spent way too much time on details. Really, if you look at the numbers along the side and look at the figures from BMW, a little over, a little under, a little over, a little over, a little under. Forget this. A little under, a little over, a little under. That's all you need to know. So you could say that in all the countries except for Belgium, BMW sold around 100,000 cars. Okay, only Belgium sold a negligible amount. And that's it. You're done with BMW. Isn't that amazing? You don't have to talk about it again. And then, for Ford, you have to find some things. So Ford is a little trickier. You've got the highest sales of Ford in Holland and Hungary. You've got the least sales in Germany and Italy. And then the rest, again, just smush them together. Okay, so that's how I'd like to see this done. It's not the only way, of course, but it is a way that I find very effective, very clear, very clean. So, yeah, what was, because I saw your email where you asked about scores and so forth. I think I gave you a good idea of your scores in task two. Here for me, organization was a problem and task achievement was a problem. I mean, you got the job done, but it needs work, okay, in order to get into those top band scores. All right, so go ahead, keep writing, and we'll meet back here. Good luck.